You know, so many of us are walking around like our entire life depends on the opinions of others. We measure our happiness, our success, even our worth by how the world sees us. We worry about every little thing. We stress about outcomes that are uncertain, and we let fear dictate our choices. But what I want to share with you today, and what I want you to truly understand, is the freedom that comes when you act as though nothing matters. Not in a careless way, not in a destructive way, but in a way that liberates you from the chains of attachment, from the prison of expectation. When you learn to act as though nothing matters, you start living from a place of absolute power. You begin to move through the world with clarity, confidence, and joy that is untouchable by circumstance. Let me be clear. This does not mean that you stop caring about your life or the people around you. It does not mean that you abandon your responsibilities or become indifferent to the world. No. This is far deeper than that. This is about understanding the truth that most of what we worry about, most of what we cling to, most of what we think defines us, is actually irrelevant in the grand scheme of your growth, your purpose, and your peace. Acting as if nothing matters means you are not enslaved by outcomes. You do not tremble at criticism. You do not seek validation. You simply act. You do what needs to be done. You speak your truth. You follow your path. And you do it with such calm and certainty that the world cannot shake you. Imagine for a moment a bird flying freely in the sky. The bird does not worry about the storm or the praise of other birds. It does not fret about failing to reach a certain branch or losing its place in the flock. It simply flies. It moves. It flows. That is what it looks like to act as though nothing matters. Your life, your work, your relationships, approach them with this mindset. When you act as if nothing matters, you stop being trapped by fear. Stop overthinking. You stop obsessing over the what-ifs. And in that space of freedom, your true power emerges. You become unstoppable because your energy is no longer diluted by worry, doubt, or comparison. Now, I know this is not easy. We are wired to seek approval, to avoid pain, to obsess over the future. But let me tell you this. Most of the things you care about, the gossip, the judgments, the minor setbacks, even some of the achievements, none of it defines you. It does not determine your worth. Acting as if nothing matters is about breaking free from this illusion. It is about creating a shield around your mind and heart that no external circumstance can penetrate. When you understand that the opinions of others, the pressures of society, and the uncontrollable events of life do not hold power over your spirit, you become truly free. And freedom is where growth, happiness, and fulfillment reside. Think about your daily life. Moments are spent worrying about things that ultimately do not affect your essence. How much energy is wasted on trying to control outcomes that are simply not in your hands? Now, imagine channeling all of that energy into your purpose, into your passion, into becoming the best version of yourself. When you act as though nothing matters, you no longer get caught in the endless cycle of anxiety and hesitation. You move forward with clarity. You take risks without fear. You speak your truth even when it's uncomfortable. And here's the beauty: when you do this, the universe aligns with you. Opportunities come. People resonate with your authenticity. Doors open that you never even knew existed. This is the power of detachment. The power of knowing that the only thing that truly matters is your integrity, your growth, and your connection with your higher self. And let me tell you something else. When you act as though nothing matters, you stop comparing yourself to others. The world is full of distractions, full of people trying to tell you what success looks like, what happiness should feel like, how you should behave. But comparison is a trap. Comparison is a cage. Acting as if nothing matters liberates you from that cage. You start walking your path with your head held high, with your energy focused on your journey, not on the illusions created by others. You start to understand that the only opinion that matters, the only metric that matters, is your alignment with your own truth. And when you align with your truth, your actions become effortless. Your presence becomes magnetic. Your life becomes extraordinary because you are no longer living for approval. You are living for essence. I want you to consider one more thing. It wants us to worry about money, status, power, and recognition. It wants us to attach our happiness to things that are fleeting. Acting as though nothing matters is a revolutionary act. It is a conscious choice to see beyond the illusion, to see life as it truly is, and to act from a place of inner certainty rather than outer expectation. When you act as though nothing matters, you realize that failure is just feedback, criticism is just noise, and loss is just a part of the natural flow. Nothing can shake you because you have anchored yourself in something far greater, your own essence, your own presence, your own unshakable spirit. This mindset transforms everything. Relationships become healthier because you are no longer desperate for love or validation. Work becomes more fulfilling because you act with purpose, not out of fear. Challenges become opportunities because you face them with courage rather than anxiety. Life, in all its chaos and beauty, becomes your canvas, and you paint on it with freedom, authenticity, and joy. Acting as though nothing matters is not about nihilism. It is about ultimate empowerment. It is the realization that true freedom does not come from external circumstances, but from mastery over your mind and detachment from the illusions that bind most people. So, my friends, I urge you to start practicing this today. Begin with small steps. Let go of the need to impress. Release the need to control. Stop worrying about what others think. Focus on your essence, your growth, your presence. Move through your day as if nothing truly matters. And yet everything that you do is infused with purpose and intention. Watch how life responds. Watch how you respond. Watch how you step into a version of yourself that is fearless, magnetic, and unstoppable. Remember, the secret is not to avoid responsibility or carelessness, it is to act from a place of ultimate freedom, where the opinions, fears, and judgments of the world have no power over you. And in that space, you will find joy, power, and an inner peace that is unshakable. When you act as though nothing matters, you become like water. You flow around obstacles without resistance. Adapt without losing your essence. You remain centered, calm, and clear, no matter the storm around you. People will try to distract you, to pull you into their drama, to make you anxious or fearful. But you are untouchable, not because you are indifferent to life, but because you have chosen to see the bigger picture. You have chosen to focus on what truly matters: your growth, your truth, your love, your light. Everything else is noise. And when you act from this space, you are no longer living reactively. You are living proactively, with purpose, with courage, and with clarity. So take this with you today. Start acting as though nothing matters. Step into every moment with calm, certainty, and courage. Let go of attachment, fear, and obsession. Move through your life as if you are free, because you are. And in that freedom, you will find everything you have been seeking: strength, clarity, joy, and a life that is truly extraordinary. Remember, acting as though nothing matters is not giving up. It is stepping into the ultimate power that comes from detachment, clarity, and unwavering presence. It is a choice you can make right now. Make it, live it, and watch as your life transforms in ways you never imagined. Many people live their lives trapped in invisible cages. Cages built from fear, expectation, and the constant weight of what others think. They move cautiously, speak hesitantly, and dream timidly. But I want you to know something profound. The moment you act as though nothing matters, those cages disappear. They vanish. And the life you step into is not only freer, it is richer, deeper, and more powerful than anything you have ever imagined. You see, when you stop letting the world dictate your happiness, your decisions, and your self-worth, you awaken a force inside you that has always been there, quietly waiting. This force is your essence, your unshakable spirit, your true self. And it is unstoppable once you learn to act as though nothing matters. Now, I know that nothing matters sounds strange at first. People think, you should abandon responsibility, ignore consequences, or carelessly drift through life. But nothing could be further from the truth. Acting as though nothing matters is the highest form of intelligence, the deepest form of courage, and the most profound form of freedom. It is the understanding that external events, opinions, failures, and even successes do not define who you are. Who you are is untouchable. Your spirit, your presence, your power, your consciousness, these things are eternal. And once you step into that reality, you move with purpose, you act without fear, and you love without expectation. Think about it. How much of your life has been wasted worrying about things that ultimately have no real impact on you? How many nights have you spent lying awake, replaying conversations, worrying about outcomes, imagining disasters that never happened? All that energy, all that mental space has been stolen from you by attachment, by acting as though nothing matters. You take that energy back. You reclaim it. You redirect it toward creation, growth, and joy. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being the creator of your reality. Nothing and no one can stop you because your power does not come from approval, luck, or timing. It comes from your inner alignment with truth. And here is the beautiful paradox. When you act as though nothing matters, everything begins to matter in a new way. You start to see life with clarity. You begin to understand what truly deserves your attention and what is merely noise. You become more compassionate because you are no longer trapped in judgment or expectation. You become more focused because your energy is no longer scattered by fear or worry. You become more joyful because your happiness is no longer dependent on outside conditions. Acting as though nothing matters frees you to engage with life fully, without hesitation, without doubt, without hesitation, without fear. You move with flow, with grace, and with an unshakable inner power. Now, I want you to imagine a life completely free from attachment. Imagine waking up every day with a calm mind, a clear heart, and an unwavering focus on what truly matters to you. Imagine moving through challenges without being crushed by them. Imagine pursuing your dreams without fear of failure or judgment. This is not fantasy. This is possible. And it begins with a simple choice: to act as though nothing matters. You do not have to change the world. You simply act from a place of inner freedom, letting your actions be guided by purpose, courage, and authenticity. And when you do this, life responds. Opportunities appear. Doors open. People resonate with your energy. Challenges transform into stepping stones. You begin to live in a state of flow where your power and potential are fully realized. Let me tell you something most people never understand. The world is designed to distract you. It wants you to worry, to compare, to seek approval, and to be afraid. It wants you to live your life according to other people's rules. But when you act as though nothing matters, you are no longer playing their game. You create your own reality, your own rules, your own path. You step into a state of mastery over your mind, where fear and doubt lose their grip. This is not arrogance. This is clarity. This is knowing that the only control you need is over your own actions, your own thoughts, your own energy. And in that space, you are free to live your highest life, to pursue your deepest dreams, and to experience joy that is untouched by circumstance. When you act as though nothing matters, you also stop being afraid of failure. Failure becomes simply feedback, information, not a judgment of your worth. Criticism becomes insight, not a verdict. Loss becomes experience, not a tragedy. And as you move through life in this way, you begin to understand that nothing external can hurt you unless you give it power. The world will try to shake you, to manipulate you, to distract you. But you are untouchable because you have chosen to anchor yourself in something far greater. Your essence, your presence, your power, your truth. And when you operate from this space, miracles begin to happen. Opportunities appear, connections form, and your life begins to unfold in ways you never imagined possible. I want you to also realize that acting as though nothing matters creates incredible confidence, not the kind that is loud or aggressive. Deep, unshakable confidence that comes from understanding who you are and what you stand for. You no longer seek validation from others because you are already complete. You no longer fear judgment because you know your value. You no longer hesitate or overthink because your clarity guides you. This is the kind of confidence that moves mountains, transforms relationships, and inspires everyone around you. People feel your energy. They are drawn to your presence. They respect your authenticity. This is the power of acting as though nothing matters. And here is the most important point. This mindset transforms suffering. When you are no longer attached to outcomes, you no longer suffer from disappointment. When you are no longer dependent on validation, you no longer suffer from rejection. When you no longer cling to fear or expectation, you no longer suffer from anxiety. You experience life fully, deeply, and freely. Pain becomes temporary. Joy becomes profound. And every moment becomes a teacher. Acting as though nothing matters does not mean life becomes easy, but it means life becomes navigable. It means you are no longer at the mercy of circumstance. You are no longer a leaf tossed by the winds of chance. You are a river flowing with purpose, clarity, and unstoppable force. So I urge you, start today. Begin small. Let go of one worry. Release one fear. Detach from one expectation. And watch how it changes everything. Move through your day with awareness. Speak with clarity. Act with courage. Love with freedom. Create without attachment. And step by step, you will find yourself in a state of power and peace that is indescribable. Acting as though nothing matters is not a denial of life, it is a celebration of life. It is the recognition that life is precious, fleeting, and beautiful. And the only way to truly live is to release the illusions that bind you. When you embrace this mindset, life becomes your canvas. You paint with boldness, authenticity, and freedom. You step into challenges with joy. You engage with people with openness. You pursue your dreams with unwavering courage. You become magnetic because your energy is unshakable. You become unstoppable because your spirit is untethered. And in that freedom, you experience the beauty of life as it was, always meant to be experienced, fully, powerfully, and joyfully. Remember, nothing outside of you has the power to define you unless you allow it. By acting as though nothing matters, you reclaim that power. You step into your life fully. You move with clarity, courage, and love. You create, grow, and inspire. You live as the highest version of yourself. And that, my friends, is the path to true freedom, true joy, and true greatness. Act as though nothing matters. Move with courage. Live with freedom. Love with authenticity. And watch your life transform beyond imagination. So many people walk through life as if they are carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. Every comment, every judgment, every outcome seems to define them. Every rejection feels like a disaster. Every criticism feels like a verdict. And every mistake becomes a mark on their soul. But I want you to hear this clearly. None of that is true. None of it. The moment you start acting as though nothing matters, a transformation begins inside you. You start to realize that the world's noise has no power over your spirit. You begin to understand that the only thing that truly matters is your presence, your integrity, your growth, and your connection with life itself. When you step into this mindset, fear loses its grip, doubt dissolves, and life opens up in ways you never imagined possible. Acting as though nothing matters is not about becoming careless. It is not about giving up or ignoring responsibility. It is about stepping into a place of freedom where your energy is no longer scattered, where your mind is no longer chained to outcomes, and where your spirit is untouchable by external forces. When you act from this place, you do not react to life, you respond. You move with clarity, with intention, with calmness that others cannot shake. You stop wasting time and energy on things that do not serve you. You focus on what truly matters, your growth, your presence, and your alignment with your own truth. That is where true power resides. Let me give you an example. Think about a time when someone criticized you. Maybe it was harsh. Maybe it was unfair. Maybe it shook you deeply. Now, imagine if instead of letting that criticism control your emotions, your self-worth, or your actions, you acted as though it did not matter. You listened. You considered if there was any truth in it. And then you let it go. You did not allow it to define you. You did not allow it to derail your day, your energy, or your purpose. That is the freedom I am talking about. That is the liberation that comes from acting as though nothing matters. It does not mean you ignore reality. It means you rise above the illusions that try to pull you into suffering. And here's the beauty. When you start practicing this mindset, life begins to flow differently. Doors that were previously closed start opening. Opportunities you never imagined appear. Relationships deepen in authenticity because you are no longer desperate for approval or fear-driven. You begin to experience life fully because you are no longer living in reaction to fear, judgment, or attachment. Acting as though nothing matters is like releasing the brakes on your life. You move forward with speed, clarity, and precision. You take action without hesitation. You pursue your dreams with courage. And suddenly, your life is no longer limited by what the world thinks, by what others say, or by the illusions of what should happen. Now, let's talk about courage. Real courage does not come from avoiding fear. It comes from seeing fear and choosing to act anyway. Acting as though nothing matters is the ultimate form of courage because it frees you from fear of failure, rejection, and judgment. When you are not attached to outcomes, you move with boldness. You take risks. You speak your truth. You create without hesitation. You live without apology. And in that space, you discover your true potential, the version of yourself that was waiting patiently for you to claim your freedom. That is where greatness is born, not in comfort, not in conformity, but in fearless detachment from everything that is not essential. Let me also remind you of something most people overlook. Attachment is suffering. When you cling to outcomes, when you crave approval, when you depend on external validation, you set yourself up for pain. Every disappointment becomes unbearable. Every judgment cuts deeply. Every setback feels catastrophic. Acting as though nothing matters breaks those chains. You no longer measure your worth by external forces. You no longer let circumstances dictate your peace. You stop obsessing over what you cannot control. And in that freedom, you find not only relief but extraordinary power. Because when nothing external matters, you are free to focus entirely on what you can control. Your energy, your choices, your presence, and your growth. Consider your relationships. So often, people get trapped in relationships because they are desperate for love, validation, or approval. They fear losing someone or being judged. But acting as though nothing matters transforms how you connect with others. You love freely because you are not attached to receiving love in return. You communicate honestly because you are not trapped in fear of rejection. You move through life without desperation because you know your value is inherent, not conditional. And this does not make you cold or indifferent. It makes you magnetic, grounded, and authentic. People are drawn to this energy because it is real, unshakable, and deeply inspiring. And the same applies to your work, your goals, and your dreams. Acting as though nothing matters gives you clarity and focus. It eliminates the distractions that pull you off course. It removes the fear of failure that paralyzes so many people. It allows you to act decisively, to take bold steps, and to pursue your purpose with full commitment. You become unstoppable because your energy is no longer wasted on worry, doubt, or overthinking. Every step you take is purposeful. Every action is aligned with your truth. Every decision is guided by presence rather than fear. That is the power of acting as though nothing matters. Now, I want you to think about life's challenges. Life is full of obstacles, setbacks, and moments that test us. When you act as though nothing matters, these challenges no longer control you. They become opportunities for growth. They become lessons rather than punishments. You no longer suffer from adversity because you are not attached to what should happen. You are anchored in your inner strength, your clarity, and your presence. And in that state, you face challenges with courage, resilience, and grace. You move through obstacles, not as a victim, but as a master. You turn setbacks into stepping stones. You transform difficulty into power. That is the magic of detachment, the magic of acting as though nothing matters. And here is the most profound truth. Freedom comes not from changing the world, but from mastering yourself. Acting as though nothing matters is self-mastery. It is the ability to rise above fear, doubt, and attachment. It is the ability to move through life with calm, clarity, and unwavering focus. It is the recognition that your peace, your joy, and your power come from within, not from the opinions, actions, or events of the external world. And when you embody this truth, your life becomes extraordinary. You become unstoppable. You become magnetic. You become free. So today, I challenge you to start practicing this. Release the need to control outcomes. Release the need for approval. Release the need to fear failure. Begin each day with awareness. Move with purpose. Create with courage. And watch as your life transforms in ways you never imagined. Acting as though nothing matters is not giving up. It is stepping into the ultimate power that is your birthright. It is a conscious choice to live free. And in that freedom, you will find strength, clarity, Remember this always. The world may try to distract you, challenge you, or shake you, but nothing can touch your spirit unless you allow it. Acting as though nothing matters is your shield, your power, and your path to freedom. Embrace it, live it, and watch your life unfold in a way that is authentic, powerful, and extraordinary. Step into life fully. Act with courage. Love without attachment. Speak your truth. Create fearlessly. And become the unstoppable force you were always meant to be. That is the power, the beauty, and the liberation of acting as though nothing matters. Many people go through life as if they are trapped in an invisible prison. They believe that every event, every comment, every judgment, every setback, and every success defines them. They live in constant fear of making mistakes, of being rejected, of failing to meet the expectations of others, and even of their own imagined standards. But today, I want to tell you something powerful, something that can transform your life entirely. You are not defined by anything outside of you. You are not bound by what people say or think. You are not limited by failure or loss. When you act as though nothing matters, you break free from these chains. You step into a space of absolute freedom, a space where your power, your clarity, and your peace are unshakable, no matter what the world throws at you. Now, let me clarify what I mean. Acting as though nothing matters is not about being careless, indifferent, or lazy. It is not about giving up on life or responsibility. No, it is much deeper, much more profound than that. It is about understanding the truth that most of what we obsess over, the opinions of others, the fear of failure, the pressure to perform, is irrelevant when compared to the power and freedom of your inner self. It is about letting go of attachment to outcomes, external validation, and societal expectations, and instead anchoring yourself in your own essence, your own purpose, and your own presence. When you do this, you begin to live life on a higher plane, a plane where obstacles are merely opportunities, criticism is merely insight, and failure is simply feedback. Consider this. How often do you allow fear to control your decisions? How often do you let doubt dictate your actions? How often do you hesitate because you are worried about the judgment of others or the risk of failure? Acting as though nothing matters removes all of that. It liberates you from fear. It liberates you from hesitation. It liberates you from the endless cycle of worry and self-doubt that keeps most people trapped in mediocrity. When you act from this space, you move with clarity. You act with courage. You pursue your goals without hesitation. And in that state, life begins to flow effortlessly, because you are no longer blocked by fear or attachment. You are free to fully express your potential, your creativity, and your purpose. I want you to imagine for a moment what it would feel like to live in this freedom every day. Imagine waking up each morning without the weight of anxiety pressing on your chest. Imagine moving through your day without constantly seeking approval or validation. Imagine loving freely, creating boldly, and engaging with life without hesitation. This is not a fantasy. It is a reality that is available to you the moment you choose to act as though nothing matters. It is a conscious choice to release attachment, to release fear, and to step into a state of power and presence that cannot be shaken. Acting as though nothing matters also changes the way you relate to people. Relationships often become complicated when we are attached to outcomes, desperate for approval, or afraid of rejection. We cling to people, try to control them, or bend ourselves to meet their expectations. But when you act as though nothing matters, something miraculous happens. You are free to love without attachment, to communicate without fear, and to connect without desperation. You stop trying to control others and instead allow relationships to unfold naturally. You stop seeking validation and instead radiate authenticity. And in that space, your relationships become deeper, more genuine, and far more rewarding. People are drawn to your energy because it is grounded, unshakable, and real. You become magnetic, not because you try to impress, but because you are free and fully yourself. Think about your work, your goals, and your dreams. How often have you held back, hesitated, or overthought because you were worried about failure or judgment? Acting as though nothing matters removes these barriers. You stop fearing failure. You stop overthinking every decision. You stop waiting for permission. You begin to act with courage, clarity, and purpose. Every step becomes deliberate. Every action becomes aligned with your truth. Every challenge becomes an opportunity for growth. And in this state, you discover a level of focus, determination, and creativity that most people never experience because they are too busy worrying about what might go wrong or what others will think. Acting as though nothing matters unlocks a power within you that is limitless. Now, let me speak to the nature of fear and suffering. Most people suffer because they are attached. They are attached to outcomes, to approval, to validation, and to possessions. They suffer when life does not go as planned, when they are judged, or when they experience loss. Acting as though nothing matters transforms suffering. It does not make you immune to challenges, it makes you untouchable by them. Loss becomes temporary, setbacks become lessons, and criticism becomes feedback rather than a verdict. You no longer suffer because your peace is not dependent on circumstances. It is anchored in your inner freedom, your clarity, and your alignment with truth. And in this space, you find not only relief from suffering but extraordinary power, courage, and joy. Acting as though nothing matters also cultivates unshakable confidence. This confidence is not loud or boastful. It is quiet, deep, and unwavering because it is rooted in truth. You do not seek approval because you already know your worth. You do not fear judgment because you already know your value. You do not hesitate because your clarity guides your actions. And this type of confidence changes everything. People feel it. They respect it. They are drawn to it. You become a force in the world not because you try to impress or manipulate, but because your energy is aligned, powerful, and untouchable. Acting as though nothing matters frees you to operate at this level every single day. And finally, acting as though nothing matters transforms your relationship with life itself. You stop living reactively. You stop being controlled by fear, attachment, and expectation. You begin to live proactively, fully, and intentionally. Life becomes a canvas on which you paint with courage, creativity, and authenticity. Challenges are no longer obstacles, they are opportunities. Success is no longer defined by external validation. It is defined by your alignment with your purpose. Happiness is no longer conditional. It becomes your natural state. And in this state, you step into a life that is extraordinary in every sense. You become free, powerful, and unstoppable. So I urge you, begin today. Let go of attachment. Release fear. Stop worrying about outcomes, judgment, or approval. Move through life as if nothing matters, yet act with clarity, purpose, and presence. Speak your truth. Pursue your goals fearlessly. Love authentically. Create boldly. And watch your life transform. Acting as though nothing matters is not a denial of life. It is the ultimate expression of mastery, freedom, and power. It is the choice to live fully, to move with clarity, and to step into the extraordinary life that is waiting for you. Remember, the world will try to distract you. It will try to control you. It will try to make you fear, doubt, and attach. But when you act as though nothing matters, you rise above it all. You become free. You become unstoppable. You become a force of clarity, courage, and joy. Step into this power today. Live it. Breathe it. Move through life with freedom, authenticity, and unstoppable energy. And watch as the extraordinary unfolds before you every single day. Life has a way of teaching us the same lesson over and over again until we finally understand it. That lesson is this: attachment is suffering, and freedom comes when we act as though nothing matters. I know that sounds radical. I know that sounds almost impossible in a world that constantly tells us to care, to worry, to compete, to compare, to achieve, to fear. But the truth is, acting as though nothing matters is the doorway to a life of immense power, clarity, and joy. It is the realization that nothing outside of you has the authority to define you unless you allow it. And when you step into that reality, life changes completely. You become untouchable. You become unstoppable. You begin to live on your own terms. And you start to experience a level of freedom that most people only dream of. Now, let me explain what I mean. Acting as though nothing matters does not mean abandoning responsibility. It does not mean being careless or indifferent. It does not mean neglecting your dreams or ignoring the people you love. On the contrary, it means that you are choosing to operate from a place of ultimate power, clarity, and presence. You are choosing to release the attachment to outcomes, opinions, and expectations, and instead anchor yourself in your essence, your integrity, and your purpose. You are choosing to act from a space of freedom, rather than from fear. And when you do this, everything in your life transforms, because you are no longer reacting to the world, you are responding from a place of mastery. Think about the times when you have been consumed by worry or fear. Maybe it was a difficult conversation, a challenging project, or a personal setback. How much energy did you waste? How many hours, days, or weeks were spent obsessing over something that, in the end, did not matter as much as you thought? Now imagine approaching that same situation with the mindset that nothing matters. Nothing external, that is. You focus entirely on what you can control. Your actions, your thoughts, your energy. You move with clarity and purpose, without being paralyzed by fear or attachment. You act decisively, boldly, and authentically. And in that space, you discover a level of power and freedom that most people never experience, because they are too attached, too fearful, too worried about outcomes. This mindset changes everything. It changes the way you approach challenges. Challenges no longer intimidate you, because you are not attached to avoiding discomfort. Criticism no longer affects you, because you are not dependent on validation from others. Failure no longer terrifies you, because you understand that it is merely a step on the path of growth. Loss no longer breaks you, because your peace does not depend on external circumstances. When you act as though nothing matters, every obstacle becomes an opportunity, every setback becomes a lesson, and every challenge becomes a chance to demonstrate your courage and resilience. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are the master of your own experience. Consider the freedom that comes in relationships. Most people experience tension, anxiety, and dissatisfaction because they are attached to outcomes. They are desperate for love, approval, or validation. They fear rejection. They cling to people or try to control situations. But when you act as though nothing matters, You experience relationships differently. You love freely, without expectation. You communicate clearly, without fear. You connect authentically, without desperation. You are not trying to impress, manipulate, or control. You are simply being. And in that being, you become magnetic. People are drawn to your energy because it is grounded, real, and untouchable. Relationships become harmonious, deep, and rewarding because they are built on freedom and authenticity rather than attachment and fear. The same principle applies to your goals, your work, and your dreams. Acting as though nothing matters removes the paralysis that fear and doubt create. It allows you to act decisively, take bold steps, and pursue your purpose without hesitation. You no longer wait for permission, approval, or perfect conditions. You do not get caught up in what others are doing or what the world expects. You move forward with courage, clarity, and authenticity. Every action you take is purposeful. Every decision you make is aligned with your truth. Every challenge you encounter is an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. And in this state, your potential becomes limitless because nothing outside of you can limit you. I want to remind you of the power of presence. When you act as though nothing matters, you stop living in the past or worrying about the future. You stop being consumed by regret, guilt, or anxiety. You are fully present in the moment. And it is in this presence that true power emerges. You see things clearly, you act with precision, and you connect deeply with the world around you. Your energy becomes magnetic because it is undistracted and undiluted. Your actions become effortless because they are guided by clarity and purpose. And your life begins to flow in a way that feels natural, powerful, and extraordinary. This is the state of ultimate freedom, the state of someone who acts as though nothing matters. Fear is one of the greatest obstacles to living this way. Most people are afraid to let go, afraid to release control, afraid to step into the unknown. But fear only has power over you if you allow it. When you act as though nothing matters, fear loses its grip. You move forward anyway. You take risks anyway. You speak your truth anyway. You pursue your dreams anyway. And in doing so, you discover that fear was never real. It was only an illusion, a product of attachment, expectation, and belief in limitations that do not exist. Acting as though nothing matters dissolves fear and reveals the immense power that lies within you. Suffering is another aspect of life that transforms when you adopt this mindset. Most suffering comes from attachment to people, outcomes, possessions, or ideas. When you release attachment, suffering diminishes. You no longer experience pain as intensely because you are no longer dependent on external factors for your peace and happiness. You respond to challenges with calm, courage, and clarity. You face adversity with resilience and grace. You see obstacles as opportunities, setbacks as lessons, and criticism as insight. Acting as though nothing matters does not make life easy, but it makes life navigable, empowering, and deeply fulfilling. Confidence grows naturally in this state. Not loud, boastful confidence, but deep, unwavering confidence that comes from knowing your worth, your truth, and your power. You no longer seek approval because you are complete in yourself. You no longer fear judgment because you are aligned with your essence. You no longer hesitate because clarity guides your actions. And this confidence changes everything. People feel it. They respect it. They are drawn to it. Your presence becomes magnetic, your influence expands, and your life begins to unfold in ways that are extraordinary, effortless, and deeply fulfilling. Acting as though nothing matters is the path to authentic power. Not imposed, not borrowed, not conditional. It is your own. So I challenge you, begin now. Let go of attachment, fear, and worry. Release the need to control, to impress, or to gain approval. Move through life as if nothing matters, yet act with courage, clarity, and purpose. Speak your truth. Love without expectation. Pursue your goals fearlessly. Create boldly. And watch your life transform in ways you never imagined. This mindset is not a denial of life. It is the ultimate affirmation of your freedom, power, and potential. It is the highest form of intelligence, courage, and mastery. And it is available to you right now, this moment. Remember, the world will always try to distract you. It will try to pull you into fear, doubt, attachment, and judgment. But nothing outside of you has the power to define you unless you allow it. Acting as though nothing matters is your key to freedom, your path to empowerment, and your doorway to an extraordinary life. Step into it, live it, breathe it. Move through the world with clarity, courage, and unstoppable energy. Love authentically. Create fearlessly. Speak truthfully. And watch as your life unfolds in a way that is magnificent, extraordinary, and entirely your own. This is the power of acting as though nothing matters. This is the path to true freedom, joy, and greatness. Step into it. Own it. Live it fully. And become the unstoppable force you were always meant to be.